What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Asia, founder of the America First AI Network. And before we get into the goods of today's episode, I want to let you guys know I have an announcement. My 2017 novel, Becoming Brazen, it is a political drama coming of age story, whatever that means. It is available for free for you guys to download. Click the link in the description, and a copy of Becoming Brazen is yours. Completely unedited, not published. Just want to know what you guys think about it. So go ahead, click that link in the description at the end of this episode, of course, or when you're finished watching or listening to this, if you're listening to it on YouTube Music, and get your copy of Becoming Brazen, my 2017 unpublished, unedited novel. Now that that's been said, I want to get into today's episode. A lot of you have tuned in and watched yesterday's episode, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And from what I've been reading in the comment section, it looks like there needs to be, I don't want to say a part two to that to my reaction, if you will, about Nick and Pierce conversation or heated debate, honestly, because it didn't feel like an interview. It felt more like a debate that Nick, in my personal opinion, won. Um, but I want to talk about that before diving into anything else. No lie, today I was going to go into one of two things. I was going to talk about either Trump's executive order today, or I was going to talk about the deal between, Netflix and HBO, or Warner Brothers, or Paramount and Warner Brothers. But we will save that for next week because I do have an opinion on both, since my business, I won't say is reliant on those two things, but it's in the realm of those two things. But I think it's worth doing more of a deep dive into what I said in yesterday's episode. So before we jump into, the meat and potatoes of today's episode, I have to say this. Pretty much after I posted the video and after about an hour, 2 hours, seeing the traction that the episode was getting, I spent those hours after it was posted and spent some time throughout this day going through the comment section. And I have to say, thank you to all of you. To the returning viewers, thank you so much for coming back to the channel and watching the show and engaging in the comment section. And to the new viewers and to the new subscribers, I'm just so happy that you guys, number one, got the video in your feed, because I was so sure that YouTube was attacking the channel and my content. And so I'm so grateful for you to not just be viewing and having subscribed, but engaging in the comment section. Because I got to tell you, sometimes doing podcasting, you want to try your hardest not to be a troll and not chasing what's trending. And so when you guys comment in the comment section, you do one of three things or two of the three. You provide me not just your opinion, which I very much appreciate and value, and that's one thing. But you guys give me new topics to talk about. You guys give me resources that I can really use to either back up my claim or to maybe even challenge my claims and opinion. And the third thing, which I think is the most important, your perspective is tremendous and highly appreciated. I can't speak for everyone who podcasts, but why I enjoy it, specifically from this audience, is because I know that we share the same values and we share the same America First principles. So even when we disagree, it's not so far fetched and it's not hard for me to understand where you're coming from. And when I can understand where you're coming from and we share the same core values, it's really just prescription that we disagree with, the prescription to the problem. And so I can weigh it against my own opinion. And in some cases, I'm proven wrong. And I am so happy to say that after going through the 100 plus comments in the comment section on yesterday's episode, I'm so happy to say that I was proven wrong on my claim, not Nick's claim. And the reason why I say my claim and not Nick is because I don't think Nick made the point about it being generational. I think that was commentary made on Piers Morgan's show when he was reacting to his own interview with Nick. But I said on this channel, on this show yesterday, that I think it's generational, that I think millennials and Gen Zers are done with the woe is me and that we're tired of the old guard. And I pretty much put boomers and Gen Xers in that category with the old guard. And from what I learned from the comment section and from the insights of my channel, which was told I had to start looking at, that it's not just millennials and Gen Zers not just watching this channel, but engaging in the comment section, and that just agree with me that boomers and Gen Xers also feel the same way that we feel, which is what? We don't care anymore. What is it that we don't care about anymore? The woe is me of yesteryear, and how it's been used as a weapon, and how the West has been guilt tripped into bad policy because of what happened 80 years ago. And 80 plus years ago, because we have those victims of isms on the left as well, who try to force us into reparations or changing policy where we, defund the police and all that terrible jazz. But I'm glad to say that I'm wrong. And I don't think a lot of podcasters actually, I don't think a lot of them admit when they're wrong. And I don't think a lot of people are happy to be proven wrong. I mean, this is one of those times where you can be happy to be wrong. At least Lord knows I am. Because for a moment there, I really thought, is it really that big of a divide between generations? I mean, me personally, I prefer to hang out with with older people. I mean, that's always been me. I mean, think of this. I like jazz music, for crying out loud. Jazz music, like we're talking Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. I love me some Dolores Gray. She's a white woman. She's not as great as Ella Fitzgerald, but man, do I love listening to her. I like old school music. I love me some Anita Baker, some Gladys Knight, and the Pips, not just Gladys. I mean, I'm old school. I have an old soul, I've been told growing up. I mean, I've been this way since I was a preteen, watching classic television, old movies. And when I say old, I don't mean 90s or 80s people. I'm talking Greer Garson, Maureen O'Hara. That's me. I've always been an old soul. So is it really that big of a divide? I mean, for a moment there, it was feeling like, oh man, this sucks because I prefer to be around older people. I prefer to be in a room with people who can teach me something. And I feel like living memory can teach me something. It's not always about intellect. It is about the life lived. And I can get more from living memory, and I appreciate living memory. Heck, I think their music and their film were better than ever since before I was born. So it was about to be doom and gloom and sad for our generation if it was that big of a divide. And to see you guys in the comment section from 50 all the way up to the 75-year-old grandpa who was in my comment section, I'm so happy that you guys proved me wrong, because my gosh, I was like, is it really that bad? Is this really I mean, yeah. I mean, from a 70-year-old and 60-year-old and 50-year-old's perspective, yeah, 30 is young, right? But after being told that I'm old, I don't really like lumping millennials in with the young people crowd per se. I like to say younger generations because it is and Gen Zers for the most part, compared to the living memory generation of the boomers. But man, for a second there, it was feeling like this was a young people rebellion against the old guard. And I'm proud and happy to say that I'm wrong. And that this isn't about the young being against the old, that this is about America versus the old guard. And by old guard, I mean the people who are the ones guilty of guilt tripping, right? The ones leveraging the woes of yesteryear to guilt us into bad policy. That's the old guard. It's not an age. It's a mindset. You know why it's so funny? Because we always say age is nothing but a number. You're only as old as you think you are, as old as you feel you are. And this is obviously different than that cliche, but it's in a way similar, because it's like, it isn't just because they're called the old guard, it's about the mentality. Because because Ben Shapiro is not old. He's not a boomer, right? I don't think he's a Gen Xer. Brandon Tatum, he's a millennial, right? But he's a Zionist, and he's guilt tripping Black people to be Zionists and to advocate for policy for Israel. A Black man who's a millennial who got spat on in Israel is advocating for Israel. That makes no sense to me. But okay, that's his prerogative. 7K post, yeah, it is his prerogative. Allegedly, that's what I think. I don't have any proof of it, but that's just kind of what I think. You don't get spat on in the I country in the Middle East, and then all of a sudden you're all for them. You don't spit on me and ask me to be your friend. Just saying. Side note. But I am kind of glad, not kind of, I'm more than glad, more than happy to say that I was proven wrong. Because what it shows me is that boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zers, that's literally every adult age group. Every age group that can vote is in agreement here that it's not just young people. It's not a generational thing. And I think people need to stop characterizing it that way, including me, hence this episode, hence the so-called part 2, I guess you can say. But again, it's not about my reacting to what Nick Fuentes said per se. This is me explaining why I'm wrong about how this is a generational divide, because it's not. This is about separating what is really American from what is the guilt tripping class, the ones who leverage the woes to get what they want. And it is on both the left and the right, but it's only okay to talk about it when it's on the left. I'm getting sick of I'm so sick of these Zionists. I'm sick of the I country lobbying groups. I'm sick of them. I'm sick of the guilt tripping. I'm sick of how they leverage the woes. And it's not just young people. There was a 60 something year old in my comment section, and he said this: I'm 62, voted Trump twice. Nick is right. Sick of tax dollars to Israel while grandkids can't buy homes. This is what a 62-year-old said. Another one in my comments, 68-year-old Vietnam veteran, fought for America, fought for America, not to be guilt tripped into open borders for events before my birth. Another one, boomer grandma here, Holocaust movies everywhere, every year, but my generation's paying the price in lost sovereignty. These are people in their 60s. I'm like, yeah, it's not just young people. I knew there was a reason why I love living memory. This is why I like being around older people. I learn more, and it's not about intellect. It's about life lived. But they can appreciate how far things have come, but they see the problem that we see, and their hearts break that we can't have the American dream. So no, this is not a generational problem. This is an American problem, an America First issue. So for the people who are reacting and saying that this is about the generation thing and how, it's instinctive to just rebel against so-called old people. No, this isn't just millennials. This isn't just Gen Z. It's not. There are people on X too. 40% positive posts on X, right? 40, like multiple accounts. One person said, proud grandpa, agreeing with Nick. It's like 60 something years old, agreeing with Nick Fuentes. There are boomers who are agreeing with Nick. Again, this is about how they don't care. They were literally born around the time, or young adults. Oh, I'll say children. They were either born or children around the time where the policy got passed. And I'll get into that in just a second. I just have to say, if this is not generational, it's definitely American. But now, if every generation is saying the same thing about being guilt tripped into bad policy, and how we all are sick of being guilt tripped into bad policy and the control over speech, our sovereignty, a lot of our policy when it comes to enterprise. Why is the old guard pretending that it's just a bunch of angry young people that they can just dismiss? Why do they think that they can just pretend and just act like it's just us? I have a theory on that, honestly. Honestly, I think because y'all, I got to say it, you know, millennials and Gen Zers are the generation who don't give a rat's about being called names, right? I mean, we're the generation who think aliens are real. Whether you think aliens is a demon or ET, or maybe both, we don't get called crazy for thinking aliens are real the way you guys did. being called a conspiracy theorist hurt you more than it does today. Today, you can make bank being called a conspiracy theorist, especially if there's some sound logic to it. So I think that's part of it. Maybe that's why it's easier to pretend that it's just young Americans, because there aren't that many boomers and Gen Xers that are willing to take that chance, because from their back in their day, or your day I should say, those words did have more impact. And to have younger generation not give a damn, I think you guys are empowered by that. And honestly, I think that's why you guys, at least I hope that's why you guys are in my comment section engaging. So make sure you continue to do that, subscribe and hit that bell so you're always notified. But you guys catch my drift. It seems like, again, it's not a generational issue. It feels like every generation is taking issue with the fact that post World War II, Christian compassion was used as a weapon. It was used as a weapon. I mean, we were manipulated into relaxing sovereignty of the entire Western world. And for what? So nothing like the Holocaust can ever happen again. But what's the result of that mentality? Like literally from the 40s to the 60s, this is what I believe the World J Congress was working on. And I don't know if the World J Congress had been established at that point. I just know their influence had been spread across the Western world. Because here in America, what did we see happen in the 60s? The 1965 Immigration Act. And in it, it says you can't turn away like 1930s Jews. That's what it says. What do we also do because of this guilt trip? Endless Israeli aid. The state of Israel, I should say. Let me be clear. Never again means forever pay. We have open borders because it's compassion. But compassion really equals replacement in America and in all of the West. We did this because the Zionists and the influence of the I country in the Middle East, the one that I can't say all too much on this, because they wanted safety and security, and they gave a damn. They didn't care about anybody else. Again, I try to give them some grace of unintended consequences, but the fact is they did not care how this would impact our countries as long as that they had their safety and security. We got Zionist lobbies trying to fulfill a prophecy to bring Christ back, as if they have control over that. He could choose to come tomorrow. Doesn't matter what these Zionists do. But in order to fulfill it, we have to continuously aid Israel. That's a problem. Now, I'm not going to go into the victims of isms on the left because, I think even between us and MAGA, even though there's a distinction between the two, the one thing that brings us together is that we know the left is an enemy and that they weaponize race all the time. That's just what they do. So we don't have to go into that. We're going to leave that for another day. The fact of this episode that we're discussing is that all generations are tired. Boomers down to the Gen Zers. We're over it. Boomers lived the shift, right? The change in culture in America, right? How we became less Christian. They lived it. You lived it. Gen Xers watch sovereignty completely erode. More religions coming into your culture. It's becoming less black and white and Native American and some Hispanics. It's becoming less and less of what you knew your country to be. Even if you had blacks running around, oh, woe is me, I hate white people, it didn't change the fact that you were the majority. But you watch your sovereignty erode. And millennials and Gen Z, well, we're the ones paying for it. This is why we can't buy a house. I'm not the person who says, I've never been the person that says I'm sick of hearing these stories. I've never been tired of those stories. Scratch that. Let me be clear. because I am sick and tired of them releasing movies about slavery. Like literally every time they release one, I would make a comment. And I remember posting it when that Harriet movie came out with that Cynthia girl, the one who just did Wicked. She played Harriet Tubman in a movie called Harriet, I think. And I remember when the movie came out, I went on Facebook and I screenshot and I posted the cover of the movie and I said, "Here we go. I'm gearing up to start hating on white people." Now, that post obviously was misconstrued. So many comments came into the comment section like, "I think you should delete this. White people aren't that bad, blah blah blah." And I had to clarify and I went back and I went into my comment section and I said, "I'm not saying this because I hate white people. I'm saying this because this is why they're making the movie. They want me to hate white people. That's why they keep making these movies. Why come out with 12 Years a Slave as if we didn't already know more as much we needed to know about slavery? It happened. It was bad. White men bad. Black people were victims. And then at some point down the road, it ended. Then we get to the time of Jim Crow and segregation. And then at some point that ended. I mean, why do we need to make more of these movies? And it's the same thing with the Holocaust. How many more Schindler's List need to come out? How many more versions of Anne Frank do we need to read or watch before you guys get it? Not you guys, but like the powers that be, the ones in control, the ones who are doing the guilt tripping. What more? Many more of these are you going to make for before you realize we get it? Something bad happened. We understand it. Stop trying to dictate policy with it though. Because now I'm over it. And it does make it hard to appreciate the stories that living memory have to share. I mean, my family. I told you guys in yesterday's episode, I get the stories all the time. My aunt and uncle running from the KKK, them having to ship them back to New York because they don't know how to behave in the South. Because in the South, you got to say yes, sir, and no, sir. And they weren't doing that. They're from New York. They don't do that. They're different in New York. Total attitude's different. You don't know how to act. They got to send you back up because KK going to try to string you up. This was their life. My mom couldn't get a job. She was discriminated against because she was a black female. Okay, woe was me. I understand. It was terrible. That's not my life, though. I'm greatly blessed. And I'm grateful for the progress that clearly my country has gone through. How do I know there's progress? I'm not running from the KKK. I'm not being discriminated against. I'm not getting beat up, nor is the white man that I dated got beat up because we were dating. None of this is my life. None of those bad things is my life experience. That's how I know the country got better. That is my lived experience. So stop trying to convince me that we have to vote for people or policy that keep guilt tripping us into woes of yesteryear. It's not okay. It's also not okay to say that it's hatred because we're sick of hearing about it. That's not hate. That's just love of our country, of our people. I love my country and I love my countrymen. I do. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of it. And I seriously have a disdain for those who keep trying to change it or guilt me into something that happened in another hemisphere or something that happened decades ago. And I dang sure don't like it when blacks try to do it to whites. I really don't like it when the I country tries to do it to the West. Compassion was manipulated in this country. And it opened the floodgates. And all for what? For never again mentality to fulfill a prophecy that we as humanity have no control over? Are you kidding me? That's why we're here. This is how all of us are feeling. I'm so glad to know that it's not just millennials and Gen Zers who are thinking this. I'm so glad to know that it's not just millennials and Gen Z. That it's just Americans who love our country, and we are the ones up against guilt merchants ruining our country for the past 80 plus years. Again, from 25 years old all the way up to 75-year-old grandpas, we love our country. As young Americans, we respect our past of our nation. We respect living memory and their resilience, like much respect, because honestly, I don't know if young people would have survived in your time. A lot of us couldn't survive without the internet. A lot of us couldn't live the way the Cosbys did. So, add segregation on top of that and discrimination on top of that and a world war on top of that. I don't know if we were going to survive that. So we respect the past and your experiences and your lived life and your resilience. We're grateful for our blessings that we have today. And it's not just blessings of young Americans, it's blessings for boomers and Gen Xers to see how far the country has come, to be able to say to your grandkids, it wasn't always like that, grandson, or it wasn't always like that, daughter, because my mother is a boomer. It wasn't always like that where you can just get a job based on merit. It wasn't always like that. So you need to be grateful. You know, my mother used to get mad. Like there were times when I was a student, both me and my sister, I'll never forget this. We were in middle school and we were learning about women's rights. Yes, we can go back and forth, and that's the episode for another day. And literally, you know, me and my sister, you know, we were the kind of kids that went outside to play, but now we're ready to go outside. But our mom, you know, she took education seriously. This is why I speak proper English. This is why we were allowed to get a C or a D in like science and math, but you are not allowed to get less than a B in English and history. You're not allowed to do that. Anyways, we're ready to go outside, and my mother's like, no, you're gonna learn, you're gonna study, you got to learn more about women's rights. And my twin sister shouted, I don't care about women's rights. Now, as children, she's saying this not because she doesn't care about women's rights, but because, you know, she'd rather play. Today, it's a whole different sentiment. Conversation for another day. Anyways, our mother sat us both down and explained that story I just told you about how she was discriminated against, about being a Black female, and how women didn't have the right to be able to do this, that, and the third. How she was not able to get jobs in certain areas because she was a woman, and how we need to appreciate what we have today because it wasn't always like this, children. You live in a time that I wish I lived in. That's what our mother said to us. That's what she said to us. Despite the fact that there are Black liberals running around here today, all woe is me, white man bad, that we're being discriminated against. But my mother, a boomer, is telling us that she wished she was born in the time that we were because of how different things are today. Obviously, this is earlier 2000s. But this is what we were being told by our mother, a boomer. So she could appreciate the changes that happened in society. If boomers and millennials and Gen Zers are finding that we value our country over everybody else and that we don't care about the woes about everybody else and that we want our country to be put first, our country men and women to be put first, that we don't want to look backward. We want to move forward, that here Christ is king and that only his law matter and reign supreme in this country. If we think that from the 25-year-old kid to the 75-year-old grandpa, the old guard better watch out. I'm so happy to have seen that stuff in my comment section. I'm so glad to see comments from the older generation. You guys are my favorite people on the planet. You're my favorite. I'm telling you, this is why I was so pissed with Cuomo when so many of them were killed because of his bad governance. You guys bring so much value to individuals' lives. Like there's just there's a beauty in the life that you've lived. And I appreciate it. The hardship that you went through, the resilience that you can teach. We should appreciate it more. And it's hard to do that because you have these wielders of guilt, of woes, to influence our society and our culture. And it makes it hard to appreciate all of which you bring to our society. You are literally living memory. And I value you so much. And I've never been more happy to be wrong. I swear. I'm so glad to be proven wrong. And I'm so happy that it's not just millennials and Gen Zers. I know I keep saying that, and I hope I'm not all over the place. I'm trying my hardest to really contextualize how I feel about being proven wrong. It was so awesome to see all those comments coming in for boomers and Gen Xers. It was awesome. Because no lie, yesterday's episode did not feel like a glass half full. It felt the opposite. I was just angry, and I have every right to be. My country's being manipulated by the I country and many others on the left, but mostly the I country. I mean, just look at what's happening with Paramount and Netflix and how Paramount and Warner Brothers and how Trump's involving itself. So a Zionist company can go ahead and buy it. Conversation for another day. But I know that it's not just young people who are bothered by even that deal. That's just another example of how they're trying to infiltrate our culture even more and change what we love about our country. No more truth, justice, and the American way when Zionists have control over it. It won't be that. But the best thing about those comments is that I'm not the only one mad about it. And I was wrong to suggest that. So happy to see you guys in my comment section. I'm so happy about that. You guys rock, man. Boomers and Gen Xers, you guys are awesome. You're awesome. You bring something that young people just don't. Yeah, we're tech savvy. We so are. I mean, the things it could do with AI, you guys seen some of my cartoon examples, and I love every minute of it. Don't get me wrong. And I'm so excited about competing in a way with Hollywood as far as value-based content. Bringing you guys superheroes down the road or family TV shows that have our values, where the superhero fights the bad guy of today, where we're not afraid to acknowledge who the villain really is. And yes, to say truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, I can't wait to do all of that, and I could do it with AI, but I can't bring what boomers bring. I can't bring what Gen Xers bring. You were there when they began eroding the country. You were there. You witnessed it and you lived it. Some of you boomers and Gen Xers went to war for somebody else because you lived that effect of them having eroded the country and its sovereignty and its Christian principles, while we're paying for it. Because, the dollar is pretty much worth nothing at this point. And so that string, that trauma, that guilt that they've weaponized literally is what brings us all together. It's not a generational problem. As far as young people versus old people. It's a generational problem because the problem has lasted through generations, and every generation since they began eroding the country, at least in the America First movement, know it. And that is what the people in power are afraid of. Not some Zoomers with AI and social media and tech savvy and great communication skills. It's that we have this ability to not give a damn about what you call us, what you say, not accepting the hogwash that you're spewing, not accepting the narrative coming from the old guard. And that by doing so, we're empowering previous generations to be like, you know what? I like the spunk of these young kids. They're right. Nick's right. Asia, that's a good point. I mean, it was a Gen Xer and boomers who were complimenting me on my analysis yesterday, and they were in agreement. I mean, the majority of the comments were from boomers and Gen Xers. At least that's what my analytics say. And for that, immensely grateful. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to this channel and engaging in the comment section. Please keep doing that. I have a blast reading those comments. Some of you guys are just really, really funny. I know some people just think that I'm either in an echo chamber with Nick Fuentes, but I'm not. I mean, we're America First. We're allowed to agree with one another as well as disagree with one another. Some things he says I don't agree with. I won't cover everything that Nick does. I'm not trolling Nick's website or his stuff. The only thing really that I'm waiting for is the America First Foundation or organization that he's launching next year. That's the only thing I'm tracking. But it does it definitely helps when there are more people in the comment section who yes, you disagree. And that's awesome. That's great. It's good. It's really good. Especially because again, we share the same values and principles. So I know that it's just the prescription to the problem of which we disagree. And so I can see where you're coming from. I can weigh your opinion against mine. This isn't like, there's two sexes and you're asking me to understand transgenderism. That total clash of principles and values. I can't even understand where you're coming from because I think you're cuckoo. And so I value all the comments. I am so grateful to all of you for subscribing and coming onto the channel, the returning viewers. I'm so grateful to you. I don't do this for virality. You guys know why I'm doing this. I said this in my episode before. I do this because it's cathartic. It's fun. I like sharing my opinion. Now, I do think there is a need for America First political commentary. I think there's a need for more of that because there's mostly MAGA folk in the new media landscape. And if we're going to make sure that the left doesn't take control over it, more America First commentary has to come out. Something that isn't so sensationalized or it aren't provocateur personalities like Nick Fuentes. But a lot more of us are required. And honestly, I hope that there are some boomers out there who create podcasts too. Like, you guys should create some podcasts. And when you create one, let me know. Because, man, do I want to be on your show. Freaking love you boomers, man. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. Like, man, you guys are my favorite generation. You had the best television, the best movies, the best music, the best character, the way you carried yourself, the way you loved this country, how you loved your families. It's, if you ask me, the last great generation. I know boomers have their problems, and I know everybody looks at the 70s like, oh, free love and all that stuff. And yeah, I get where Nick is coming from, but you can't convince me that there's another generation better than them alive today. I don't think so. I think you guys are the greatest left alive on this earth. And your opinions need to be heard, need to be shouted from the rooftops and shared and validated. And man, if you create a podcast, any of you boomers who are in my comment section, let me know. Let me know. And we'll have a long conversation about America First principles and my favorite classic television show and movie and song. I mean, old soul here. But that is my time, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said at the top of the show, make sure you guys head down to the description section and get yourself a copy of my 2017 Becoming Brazen political coming of age drama that is it is a bit vulgar. Again, I was in my Jackie Collins phase. I was reading a lot of Jackie, so it is vulgar, but it is conservative. It's right at the beginning of my red pill moment and journey, and I think you guys are going to like it. Let me know what you guys think about it, but click the link in the description. Get yourself a copy. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, and most importantly, commenting, because that is my favorite part once these episodes get posted. God bless you all, and until next time.